we're going to take a look at how we can use probability to predict the outcome of an event. And for most of the story problems, we'll be using two different methods. So you can choose which one that you would like to use, or if they ask you specifically to use one of those methods, you'd be able to adapt to that. So here we go. It uses probability. Mrs. Polly's oven burns about 6% of the cookies in a batch on average. She makes 400 cookies for her daughter Lynn's wedding. How many cookies would she expect her oven to burn? The first method that I'll use is setting up a proportion, and since 6% of the cookies are burned, I can turn that 6% into a fraction, 6 over 100. 100 would be equal to the total, and she made a total of 400 cookies, so I can put that on the bottom over here on the other side of this proportion. So now we just need to find out how many of the 400 cookies she burned, and we can use cross multiplication to solve. So we find out that basically she would be burning about 24 cookies out of the 400. Now, another way that we can do it is by using the 6% again. You know, we can take that 6%, write it as a fraction, and then turn that into a decimal. Or literally, you can just understand that 6% is the same as 0.06. And then we can multiply that by 400, and we would also get 24 cookies. So if you know the percentage, turn it into a decimal and then multiply it by the total, and you'll find out your answer that way. Problem number 2, Christy Joe's on a prom planning panel. They survey 30 different females. Here's the results in this table, and they want to know, hey, of the 340 females in the school that could go to prom, how many will go to prom based on this survey results? So let's use the proportion method again, and we've got to find out how many will go to the prom. So we know that 5 will definitely go. We know 13 are planning on it, and they hope to have a date to go with them. 3 of them are planning to go without a date, and then we got 9 right here that are like, nope, we're not attending. So if we take those 9 away from the 30, we know that 21 of the 30 that were asked are definitely going to prom, or at least planning on it. And then if we come over and we take a look at how many total females are in the school, we can put that on the bottom. That'd be 340 females, and now we can cross multiply. And it looks like we're using about 238 for the answer there. Now, for the second method, again, it would be turning to percentage, and it's all about using that ratio from the survey. We said 21 out of 30 were planning to go, and if we turn that into a decimal, we very quickly see that that would be the same as 70% or 0.7. So if I said, hey, what's 70% of 340, or 0.7 times 340, we would get the exact same answer of 238. Number 3 is very similar to what we saw on number 2. They were polling the students to see how many of their favorite ice cream was chocolate, and they asked a total of, you'd have to add these up, 24, the 8, the 5, and the 3. They asked a total of 40 kids what their favorite ice cream was, and since we're interested in chocolate, we'd say, hey, 8 out of the 40 said chocolate was their favorite. And we do know that there are 80 students total, and now we can actually go through and cross multiply again. Second method, take that ratio of 8 out of 40 preferring chocolate, turn that into a decimal, and quickly you see that it's 20%. And you know, since 20% is 0.2 is a decimal, you can just multiply that by 80, and again, we get 16 for the answer. Similar setup with this one, 5% of this guy's calls are dropped, so we can make that into 5 over 100 for the fraction. Obviously, we can simplify that. There's a total of 60 calls that he's going to place, so we'll put that on the bottom. We're saying, hey, how many of the calls of the 60 will drop? We can cross multiply now. And another way is to use the percentage. So again, the 5 out of 100 would turn into 0.05, so that represents the 5%. So really it's the same thing as just saying, hey, how about 0.05 times 60? And it's the same answer, 3 calls. For the very last one, I'm not going to use two different methods there. I think you can adapt yourself. I'm just going to set up a proportion here, and let's take a look at this. Each roll of film that Peggy uses has a total of 60 pictures on it, and of those 60, sometimes some of them get mixed up and they have to be rejected. You know, it's they don't turn out the way that they should. So you can see out of one roll, she had to throw out 3. On another, she had to throw out 8. 2 on this one, 0 on that one, and so you get the idea. We're going to get some raw data here and make an average so we can find out on average how many photos are thrown out from one roll of pictures. So how do we do that? We need to add up all of these rejected photos. We quickly find out that there's 27 of them. Then we take 27 and divide it by the, the number of numbers there to find the average 7, and it becomes 3.85. And I'm just not crazy about using two decimal places. They didn't tell me it had to, so I'm just going to use 3.9. Okay, so on average, 3.9 photos are rejected for each roll of film, and we want to know how many photos are rejected, not rolls, but how many photos. So there's 60 photos on each roll. So that's the reason I'm putting 60 on the bottom. 3.9 out of 60 is thrown out. And we want to know, well, out of 2,400 photos, how many photos would be thrown out. And so now we can just cross multiply. And there you have it.